Welcome to Business on the Vine. I'm your host, Lady Jen Plessis, and in this dynamic series, we dive into the challenges, breakthroughs, and victories of entrepreneurs who have turned their passion into success. Welcome. Welcome so much. Thank you for coming into this episode. I'm your host, Lady Jen Plessis, and with me today is Dr. Christiane Schroeter.
Ooh, that was really good.
Did I get it right? Well, I should. I'm German too.
I think it rolled off your tongue like a native.
If you're all watching this, you know that didn't roll off my tongue. But if you heard it, maybe it sounded really good. But it's a pleasure to have you here on the show. I don't even remember how we met. Maybe we got introduced by somebody, but we had probably an hour-long conversation because we had so much fun, and we said, we probably should stop and put this on a podcast. Right?
Yeah.
So here we are. So let me take this opportunity to introduce you so that everybody knows who you are, and then we will get busy talking. So she is a business and wellness coach, award-winning professor, and best-selling author. She created the Petite Practice, which is a trademark, and we're going to talk about that today. She created Petite Practice to help professionals achieve success through small, intentional actions. So needed right now, because I think, a lot of people know that I talk about hustle to harmony, right? How do we move from the hustle to harmony? And you're saying, don't take one big leap, do it in little baby steps, right? I love that. I can't wait to hear more about it. And she's the host of the globally ranked top #1 podcast, Happy, Healthy, Hustle. And she empowers entrepreneurs to build thriving businesses without stress and without burnout. Her newest book is Discover Your Superpower. And I know she has a great gift for you so that you can take the superpower quiz, including exclusive podcast episodes packed into expert insights, helping readers apply what they're learning in real time. So, okay, we're past the fussy bio. Now tell us about you.
Well, so here I am. I'm living in California, quite beautiful here because I'm a professor at the university. And that was also the reason why we moved to California. So now I'm living my family life here at the coast, have 2 teenage daughters, an amazing husband, and I'm a business and wellness coach. Most of the time virtual coaching, which is absolutely amazing. And then, of course, my life here, which I will share a few secrets from, has really developed around our culture also here in California. So you can still hear from my accent. I have definitely some of the European structure and fun is still there, but I'm very much embracing the freestyle California in kind of making sure that we don't just hustle, but we actually incorporate some more fun elements into our life.
Yeah, some of the freestyle that's out there. Yeah. Well, freestyle is everywhere. It's everywhere in the United States. Everyone loves doing all kinds of fun stuff. It's one of the things that I have talked about for years and years in my coaching, and even before coaching, is just living that lifestyle that you always dreamed of. Is live your legacy today. Why are you waiting until tomorrow? Right? Live it now. So let's talk about how you started doing this. I mean, you came from Germany at some point, right? And what were you doing before that led you to, because we all have these glass ceilings, right, that we've got to break through. So tell us about some of the ceilings that you broke through to get to where you're at now.
Beautiful question. So I think growing up in Germany, I always felt I have my family there and my roots are from there, but I still felt always there is something else waiting there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it started really with a passion for languages. We started learning English at a really young age. So in Germany, you learn English usually in 4th or 5th grade, right?
Wow.
So do the math in your head. So maybe then you're about 8, 9 years old. And then I learned French, and all of a sudden I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this language. And actually, our professor had an exchange program with Paris, to where he knew some families there. And so as a teenager, I started always going to Paris and really just falling in love with the city, with the culture, with the language. So became fluent in English and in French. And then in evening school, I would also learn Spanish.
Wow.
And I also felt it a little bit as a ticket to get to different countries and immerse myself in the culture without being like a stranger or a foreigner, and really learning more about the culture through the lens of the people that live there, through the residents. And
Yeah.
that was, I think, how it all started, that I felt there are small things we can do to really immerse ourselves in learning without feeling it's a chore, but it's more a culture, creativeness, and really feeling like we're becoming part of something and dipping our toe into it, and
Mhm.
becoming part of something doesn't necessarily require hours on end. It might just require like picking up a language and then going to the country. And
Right.
that's how it all started. And then I
Yeah.
studied in the United States and stayed for my PhD, and I always stayed. I always fell in love with traveling, with learning languages, with learning new things, and that never stopped.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's really about like, just opening up to receive, right? Opening up to receive things because, I took French in high school and I'm taking French now again because I forgot half of it, right?
Mhm.
Because Paris is, we were just sitting here talking about, we go to Paris a lot, but the thing is, we're kind of tired of Paris. I mean, I love Paris, but I've done
Mhm.
it all. So now what we're doing is we're creeping out into, to the other areas and they don't speak English. And so it's requiring that I learn more French so that I don't think of it as I'd like to go, but it's going to be awful, and I'm learning little bits and pieces every single day, to be able to do it. And I think it's about receiving, right? Receiving opportunities to do it. So let's talk about how that transcends into business and how, why did you see people like this? Were you always a professor? Were you working in a workforce and you yourself had all this hustle and you said, okay, that's it. Let me apply this strategy to other things.
Oh, I think this is a brilliant question, because in business, there are so many different areas where you can turn, so many people you meet along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to really grow, I kind of like group it into three parts right there. I never really stop learning, and I do this a lot with reading books, right? I read about a book per week. And I also learn by picking up and teaching things myself, whether that's, like learning different programs, learning different ways of using AI, for instance, to make my life simpler, and
Mm-hmm.
figuring out really how can I make my teaching better. And the way that I learn and the way that I receive, to use your words from earlier, is that I really immerse myself with other people. So I connect with other people, I meet them along the way, and I think this is so important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the reading books, the people
Mm-hmm.
you can hang out with, but then also how you take care of yourself. So those are the three areas that I feel if you really want to grow in business, you can never stop learning. You should always appreciate whom you meet along the way and build those
Right.
connections. And then thirdly, of course, you have to take care of yourself. And even though I said now this is thirdly, it's probably the most important thing of the three, because only if you feel you could take care of yourself, those other two areas are actually going to fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's such a simple strategy, and we hear it all the time, but it's the application. It's like, I have a friend who, does wealth, helping people with wealth. And we all know that if we save, we'll get wealthy, right? We know that if we invest in the proper thing, we'll get wealthy. We all know that if we eat right and we exercise, we'll be healthy. It's the application that becomes the issue, right? And so speak to us about the application of this shift from all this busyness. And I feel like you definitely use the word hustle, and so we can both use that word, right? Where it's just the hustle, the constant go, 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 go. How do we know what we need to do? We know we need to do sales. We know we need to do marketing. We know we need to network with people. We know. Why don't we do it?
Yeah, and actually, the name of my podcast is Happy Healthy Hustle. And
Yes.
so again, how I structured this, I have the
Yeah.
happiness, I have the health, and then the hustle. So really, only if we feel we are striving for a goal that is increasing our happiness and we're staying healthy along the way, then we can really hustle and we can go for it. And I like the question that you just asked, why don't we do it? I
Yeah.
think if the pain of remaining where you are today becomes bigger than changing, then you're actually going to look at changing. But I could ask people all day long, you really need to promote yourself. You really need to show up on Instagram. You need to do more live videos. And they're not going to do it because they're not feeling the confidence. But if
Mhm.
they all of a sudden realize that their sales are going down because they're not showing themselves, there's no visibility of their products at all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe there's something to it. So I always say, like, if you look at an equation, because I have a PhD in applied economics,
Right.
the the benefit of doing that change, of whether that's eating healthy or of investing, of saving, is greater than the pain that you feel right now in doing it, you're going to do it. So
Yeah.
you need to think a little bit of like, all right, so what is it really that I'm struggling with in my business and how uncomfortable is it? Because we all get comfortable with being uncomfortable if we keep repeating it. And that's what the concept of petite practice is all about. You just
Yeah. It creates a
need
habit.
to, yeah, you need to make it over and over and over again. That first video might not be great, maybe not the 10th one either, but on the 100th video, you just got it down. At that point, you're like, okay, now I really see there is a benefit to doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always the first step, right? It's always the first push up, right? Because you're not going to do 100 push-ups until you do the first one.
Yeah.
It's always that first, and no one else can do your push-ups, right? So, the clients that I coach, I see a lot of hustle, a lot of hustle. And in establishing, we'll call it vision, we'll call it lifelong dreams, we'll call it, Simon's the why, your why, and I think that this is what falls on deaf ears, is that there's not enough emphasis or awareness on the why, the dream, the thing that is, it can never be bigger than the hustle if we don't look at it. So, how do we stop the hustle long enough to embark on that? And I know this is going to get into your steps, right? Because this is going to get into taking the tiny steps, because we have to stop. We just have to stop. But I want to hear what you have to say about it. How do you wake someone up? Like, wake up, get out of the hustle, wake up. We're going to start talking about your why without them going, I don't know how to define it. I don't know how to do it. It takes too much time. It's too much work. And I'm thinking, well, the work you're doing already, how is that working? It's not
What helps?
working.
Oh, beautiful. And actually, what works well is to kind of like look at two different viewpoints. One would be look back 5 years ago. Where were you? And
Mm-hmm.
that's so rewarding to do this. Like to think, wow, I actually have gone quite a long ways. And I should be
Mm-hmm.
really grateful about where I'm at because 5 years ago, I was like hoping so much that eventually I would be in the position where I'm at today. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first mindset because gratitude will propel you tremendously. And I always think that we don't need to be grateful for where we are. We just always look at the future and we
Mm-hmm.
hustle and hustle to the next thing, to the next thing. And all along the way, all of a sudden we forgot, oh, this was actually something I wanted. But then maybe that next promotion doesn't feel as great. And maybe your health goes downhill. So you're losing your happiness and your health along the way because you're just
Yeah.
hustling. So think of the happy, healthy hustle as like a Venn diagram. So
Yeah.
looking back is tremendously important. And you could do this on a monthly basis, where maybe at the beginning of the month, you look at the previous month, you think, all right, what were my wins here? What is it that I'm feeling that I really did exceptional last month? And then I also think the why could be looking into the future. That
Mm-hmm.
could be 1 year, that could be 5 years. But if you think about your future self, what would your future self tell you where you are today that you
Mm-hmm.
could maybe change? And
Yeah.
we are sometimes our best teachers or our best clients. Because if you think, oh, who is my ideal client? It could be you 5 years ago. You're solving the problem of somebody that is just
Right.
like
Oh,
you
absolutely.
5 years ago.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
we overthink this. We're like, well, who is my ideal client? What name do they
Yeah.
have? what shoes do they wear, what age, what gender, all that's a totally unimportant thing. The big thing is really what emotions, what struggles do they
Mhm.
go through, and what pain points do they
Yeah.
have. All the other stuff is just fluff, right?
Yeah.
So that's frequently what we don't see, that you are hustling because you're helping somebody that is just like you just a little while ago.
Yeah, and always a chapter ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about. Catch Me If You Can. When Frank, they said, "How are you teaching all these, this class?" And it was advanced economics, right? In the school, and he said, "I was just one chapter ahead. That's all. I was just one chapter ahead." Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this just a little bit because there are people who are struggling as entrepreneurs in today's, economic environment. And when they look back 5 years, maybe they were better then
Yep.
than they are now. So, how do we flip this switch to be happy and have
Mhm.
gratitude for where we're standing right
Mhm.
now? And what actions do we take so that we don't feel like we're just hustling all day long and not getting the results that we did before, right? And maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. I'm gonna let you ask the question. I'm gonna let you answer the question, but how do we flip this?
I love the word flip because I
Yeah.
frequently tell my daughters or my husband even, you got to flip the switch.
Right, right,
It's like a thing I use all the time because they look at things through one lens. And
right.
to me, flipping the switch really means let's maybe turn this around. So
Yeah.
let's assume 5 years ago, maybe financially you were doing better. Nah? And this could even be that right now you kind of like try to figure out where you're going to turn next. You're a little bit at a transition point. And while you could say, I'm like so lost, I don't know what to do, let's flip the switch. This is maybe good because you can start over again and you can start with a clean slate and you can really dig down and kind of like think, all right, so what is my superpower? What is it really that I always wanted to do? And I just never got the chance to do it because I was so involved in what I was previously doing. And
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
there were aspects about what you were previously doing that you really enjoyed, but there might have been some things you didn't enjoy. So for
Hmm.
you, it's important to kind of look at this transition time and figure out going forward, what is it like my top three aspects that I would always really want to do? And what are maybe some things that previously didn't work out so well for me? And kind of look at this as like nearly like a custom sandwich that you're putting together. So
Right.
instead of taking the one from the menu that you had previously,
Yeah.
right? You already had
Yeah.
that one and you're not ordering the same one. You're like, okay, so now, oof, I can get
Spice
really
it up. Yeah.
easy
Spice
with
it.
the condiments here. I
Yeah.
can make this
Yeah.
like just the way that I want it to be because here I am. And you need to put yourself out there and you need to share your vision with others. Remember what I said earlier? We're always learning, but we
Mhm.
have to share that with others because in a vacuum, it's not going to grow. You need to
Yes.
go
Yeah.
out. And I'm not saying you need to put yourself on LinkedIn or YouTube every day, but that's a great place maybe to get started. LinkedIn would be good for a profession, but it's even like the people at the coffee shop
Yeah.
to share with them and verbalize what is it that I really enjoy in life? What am I really good at? And sometimes we don't even know what we're good at, but still put yourself out there and you will not believe the magic that will happen. It's like
Yeah.
the petite practice is all about taking small steps and looking at every step you take as an opportunity. The no never stands for this is not working, but it stands for next opportunity. So
Yeah.
take small steps and just keep inching forward towards what your superpower is really aligning with.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So no is next opportunity. That's all it is. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to happen, right? Just next opportunity. I love that. I love that part of it. Okay, I want to switch gears. Thank you for all that great insight. Because yeah, I think we have people that are growing exponentially, and we have people that are going, oh, I'm struggling, and what I used to do doesn't work. What do I do now? Kind of getting lost, in all of that. So I appreciate both perspectives. Thank you so much for that. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your business. So tell us a little bit about how you've structured your business because we want to know, what's making your business so successful. And then we'll talk about some of the struggles too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A brilliant question. And I want to add another acronym to the audience just because I'm all about acronyms and making
Oh,
things
yes.
memorable,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yeah.
So another great acronym that I use a lot with my clients is FAIL. FAIL stands for first attempt in learning.
Oh, yes, it totally is. Yeah.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
might be like this one thing that you're trying and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then I frequently hear from my clients, well, it just didn't work. And then I'm like, all
Did you
right,
try it
so
again? Yeah.
like when we look at toddlers who are starting to walk, they just
Yeah.
stop after the first time, then they fall down. They're like, that's it. I'm not
That's it.
ever
I'm
going
never
to
gonna
walk. I'm like throwing the hands in the air. It's like, I will just stay crawling.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's
I
it.
love that. I love that. And it's so true. I mean, it really is. It's so true. So, in your business, you've had those situations where you
Yeah.
had your first attempt in learning.
Yeah. Yep. And it happens. And sometimes, and I see this a lot actually when I watch elevator pitches, whether that's my students or my clients. I watch elevator pitches. And within the first 10 seconds, like when I hear that hook, I can already tell this is going to be amazing or this will need some pivoting. Let's use that word because I
Right.
don't want to say this is not amazing. Like pivoting is a good word, right? And the reason why I say this is because sometimes we are so in it that we are like looking only at what we're doing right now, right then, but we are not even like listening to it as like other people would. It's like kind of
Yeah.
like taking more like a bird's eye view. It's like, hold on, what is this actually all about here?
Right.
And
Right.
frequently it's the clarity that's lacking. But
Yeah.
the number one reason that I see with my clients is if I watch an elevator pitch and I get the feeling anybody could do this, it's not good. No,
Ah, okay,
it's not.
good. Yeah,
No, no,
that's
no. That's
good.
the number one reason. When I'm basically watching, I'm like, so why are you presenting this to me?
Yeah.
Because I don't know who you are. And I will not purchase a product just because I need this product, because quite honestly, I don't. I could just buy it on Amazon. I don't need to buy it from you. But if I don't feel that your personal story is in there, that I get the pain to the purpose
Mhm.
transition, I'm not interested at all. And then they are like, well, I don't know that I should share it. And then I'm like,
Oh, I always share. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you
But
don't
but
feel
look
like
at that's a
sharing, then
confidence thing that you mentioned, right? That's
yeah.
a confidence thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I was there too. I mean, I was definitely there. I wore all this armor and I still wear armor. I think it's just part of my nature now, but I wore the armor because ooh, what are they going to think of me? And who is she
Mhm.
that she can do this and why that? And and so we tend to wear that armor all the time. So what you're saying is then to answer the question, you're saying that one of the things that's made you very successful is being really clear on your elevator pitch or anytime that you're talking to anybody, right? That they understand exactly what you do and how you do it.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think speaking of failures, is that you always need to keep getting up and keep pitching. But the way that you need to look at that is there needs to be a pivot. I mean, like we can try over and over and over again, but at some point, you need to understand that maybe just a slight little tweak will make something that's like ordinary magic,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you need to think a little bit like, well, maybe the way that I'm doing it here is not brilliant quite yet. Maybe to really elevate this, I should just tweak that hook and make this a little bit more about me translating my transformation into something that you might struggle with. So instead of
Yeah.
just talking about I make
Right.
this about the audience, and all of a sudden this is like becoming like laser
Of course.
focused because
Yeah.
you're really tuning into what their pain points are.
Yeah.
So for me as a coach, that's what I always feel is the hardest transition and where I see most of the failures happen when especially now with AI, right? When the product is too generic, when
Right.
even the language becomes like too flowery. And I'm like, well,
Mhm.
nobody would ever say something like that. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
And it's just not really who you are. So you really need to kind of laser focus in, because to me, clarity always is the queen of everything. If it's not
Yeah.
clear, I will not buy it,
Yeah. I totally get it. Okay, so that's where your success came from. Tell us a little bit about your
Mhm.
struggles. What are you
Yeah.
struggling with in your business? Because none of us has this perfect business, right?
Nope.
Otherwise, we'd be somewhere. I don't know what we'd be doing. So we're all struggling. And I think it's important to share our struggles, so that someone who's listening is going, wait a minute, I have that
Mhm.
struggle. Oh, okay. So I'm not the only one. Oh, yay. Right. So
Oh, true.
what's holding you back these days? What are you struggling with?
Yeah, so maybe like, thinking about like where I've been and how I moved forward, I think the struggle really comes that sometimes you don't take enough time in really connecting with your audience and you listen to why do they hire you or why do they buy your products. You're
Hmm.
just celebrating the sale, which is amazing. But then the follow-up is really where the juice comes from, so to speak, right? So you need to or I always say too, like the happiness comes from the follow up because
Yeah.
then they can let you know I bought this because blah 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 blah, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, and they might say something you didn't even think about, and then
Mhm.
you need to write this down or put it in a Google Doc and need to create more of this, or you need to highlight it more because
Mhm.
it's sometimes really small things but I think that at the beginning, I was just so focused on, well, I have to put more products on there. And I was more focused on the
Add more
quantity.
value. Yeah, add
Yeah,
more value. Yeah.
exactly.
Than
And I
getting
forgot
people.
about the quality, like the 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 story behind the products that at the beginning I was really just like, hustling, to be honest. And I
Yeah.
forgot really that in reality, they bought the product fine, but they really bought it because they were more interested in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's at the beginning. It took me a while to figure out, and I was like, I guess anybody can create a worksheet or write a book or create a
Right.
podcast,
Right.
but
Right.
that's not really what they're here for. They're really here for me because I have a unique story. And all of a sudden, I realized, oh, I need to talk more about my story. And
Yeah.
then things
I love that.
started to really take off.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. That's so insightful. It's so, a lot of what we all do as business owners is it's an inside job.
Yep.
It is an inside job. It's not all this outside, all the Facebook ads and all this stuff. It's an inside job. It all starts from there. And I remember the day I realized that, except I don't call it that. I say mindset plus mechanics equals momentum because I thought mechanics equals momentum.
Mhm.
And I realized, oh, I got to have the mindset piece, right? I have to let people in. I have to let them see who I am, and that's important for business owners to let people see who they are. There's a level of, yes, you've got to be professional and all of that, but always being authentic, and being authentic really means letting the true you come through, and it just oozes out. If we're doing it right. Okay, so what counsel would you give to you?
Mhm.
Thinking back when you first started your business, what counsel would you give to you to say, hey girl, don't do that, or
Mhm.
you should have done this first, or you should have not poo-pooed that away, right? You should have definitely done this. What would yourself say to your novice entrepreneur? Because a novice entrepreneur who's listening today might need to hear this.
I would say for me, it was important to kind of figure out how everything in my life aligns
Mm,
because I was compartmentalizing things too much. I had my PhD and I was a professor, and I've never really talked about this. So I
yeah.
actually came up with a business name, Hello Happiness.
Hmm.
That is my LLC, Hello Happiness, and that was my website, it was my Instagram.
Hmm.
And so people frequently would ask, so what is Hello Happiness? And I would explain, well, it's happiness
Blah
because
blah
we
blah
are
blah 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 blah
reaching,
blah.
da, da, da. And so I would have to explain it. And I still love the name Hello Happiness,
Right,
but all of a
right,
sudden, somebody just bluntly asked me, it's like, why do you use your name? It's not like you have like 150 employees there or something. And I was like,
right, right.
true. And I said, well, because people always struggle with my first name. And then that person said, so let them struggle.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, let them struggle. It's not like you all of a sudden get a different first name just because you
right,
name
right.
your business differently. I would give myself the advice much earlier on, step into who you are. If you want to sell a product, put your name on it because it's
Yeah,
you. And you don't need to come up with some fancy brand name. You can always create programs that have unique names, and that's your umbrella. But at the end of the day, especially if you are a coach, you should market yourself as this is the product. And
Yeah.
now everything is Dr. Christiane. And my website, my business, everything has my logo on it. And I'm so much more grateful
Yeah.
that I'm stepping into my aligned role, and I'm really sharing a lot with my clients too. It's like, why not just go with your first name?
Yeah.
Because if it's not clear or if it's
Right.
confusing,
Right.
then there is no sales that will
Yeah.
happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
brilliant because, I've always been an advocate of You Incorporated,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
Everything you do is You Inc. And,
Mhm.
it's challenging. There are people that it's challenging. And it was, it was challenging for me, not in the entrepreneurial space because I had broken through that, but way, way, way back is to even talk about myself because I'm a very private, contained, had the armor on, right? Didn't want anyone to know about my background. And if they knew, what would they think and what would they say? And, as I had this, armor on for so long that I didn't want to talk about myself. And it wasn't until I started poking holes that it started attracting people in. And I said, oh, so it is about me then. And it's hard to do that with it and having that fine line between braggalocious, right? and really helping people understand who you are. And it is a challenge for a lot of people who have been an employee in a business and now they are the business, you know. So what are some tips you might give someone for helping them balance that? Oh, I hate that word balance, but how do you,
Many.
yeah, what are some words that you would, or some advice that you would give to someone about it's okay to talk about yourself, because if you don't, your business is not going to happen.
I think you should think about what is it you want that people say about you when you're not in the room. Yeah, the
Beautiful.
positives. What is it that you want to be remembered for?
Mm-hmm.
And then if there are certain things that you feel they would currently not say or they would currently not use those terms, you need to work on refining those skills yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about a tombstone, right? Nobody
Right.
just wants to have their name on there. You might want to be remembered for certain characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to be something quirky, special, unique. That's just you. I would, I would really strongly encourage you to think about that. Characteristics that you want to be remembered by and characteristics that people would seek you out for. What is it that you have that makes you your unique value that people
Yeah.
always ask you for? And ideally, it's something you can actually
Yeah.
monetize, not
Yeah.
something that you're like, oh, do I really have to? That's not the right thing. More like the thing that you're so passionate about with a pupils are dilating, and that's what you really need to sit down and think about because that's where the money is going to be.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because it is, it's still, even for me, like sometimes this is a big issue. You and I were talking a few minutes ago, and I was like, I don't really know if I want to share these pictures with you about something that happened this weekend, right? Because sometimes it's perceived as that, but I'm so big on the whole character thing. And, so this is something I'm going to poke in here and say, part about this is, what do you want people to say when you leave the room? And what are they saying when you're there, and about the character? Look at someone else, model someone else that you really admire. What are the characteristics that they have? Because I promise you, the person you're modeling is not someone who's saying, me, look at me. That's not how they're selling themselves, so to speak, in air quotes, right? They're not selling themselves that way. They're saying, look at my acts, not at what I'm saying, right? Necessarily. I know there's some saying and there's some great quotes from people and acronyms, right? Those things. But it really is, if you're attracted to that type of character, so will your clients. What are your thoughts on that?
Completely right. Because I think that when you think whether that's celebrities or just other leaders that you really admire, each of them have like a unique skill or unique characteristic that you would look at them for. You would put their their little quote and saying on your desk or on a sticky note next to your computer to get you going in the morning. You're like, oh yeah, I really like that. And you're going to write that down, or maybe even poems of people that have long passed away. What is it about it that really means something to you? So ideally,
Yeah.
you need to start coining some unique skills and package them up so that when we think of you, we have the same feeling. We have
Yes.
that same, oh yeah, they always say this, or
What I love about them is, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it's like a theme, right? So you're like a brand, and when they think of you, they're thinking about these unique things. And as I say, I do this all the time with my clients to where
yeah,
I download the testimonials, and you can even upload them to ChatGPT and say, find like recurring themes, recurring words, and draw them out, and maybe even check the frequency of each word. And for me, it's always bubbly, energy, fun, empowering. So I know that I'm very science based, and because I read so much, but I know how to translate it in a way that I follow this strict right here, that it's fun, that it's energetic, that is bubbly, that is empowering. So I have this unique translation skill. And maybe because I speak so many languages, I can translate something very complicated in something that will be really helpful for you. So that is my superpower, but
yeah.
you will have to figure out what yours is. And I would say there's never a bad moment to get started. Just get started today and start listening to that, or maybe even ask your clients, why did you buy this product? Would you want to see more of this? Why did you hire me? What particular strength did you see in me? What is it that I could improve? Really be the person
Mhm.
that you would want to be as well, the leader that's vulnerable and puts themselves out there and wants to be even better in the future.
Yeah. And that does require vulnerability. There's no
Yes.
question about it. But I find I'm just going to give a little hint here, but I find the best time to ask your clients is the moment that they're purchasing is. So tell me,
Mhm.
now that we've done this, we can't wait to get you on board.
Mhm.
Share with us why.
Mhm.
Why
Yeah.
did you decide to get this?
Yeah.
And in their words, because we already know why they do. They're like, I'm in the hustle and I want to be in harmony, or but their words are so important to use. I love that. How can people reach you? What's the
Mhm.
best way? I know you've got lots of ways. What's the best
Yeah.
way if someone wants to reach you and have a chat or have you on their podcast or on their stage?
Sure. So check out my website. It is now drchristiane.com. So it's all written out.
Yeah.
Doctor, like the doctor, and then Christiane. Then, of course, you can find my shop on Amazon featuring my 3 books and various other products that I use in my coaching. And then, of course, reach out on social media. It's always Dr. Christiana. And my podcast is called Happy Healthy Hustle. I would love to have you tune in. It is all episodes are under 30 minutes, bite-sized business strategy, wellness tips, and of course, all aligning with where you are in your hustle today to keep up that happiness and the health.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm going to be a guest on your show too. So I'm so excited to do that. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
giving us all this beautiful these things to look for. I think the theme of this whole podcast was increasing awareness, right? The awareness of where am I and am I where I want to be. So thank you so much, Christiana. I really, really appreciate you being here today. And I want to thank you for listening in and remind you to hop on over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. And if you get a moment, just use your thumb and scroll down and give us a great review and a great ranking, of course, right? A great ranking, but a great review. And tell us about what you learned from Dr. Christiana here today, because that helps us too. We love getting that feedback. And so until we see you next time, I'm Lady Jen du Plessis. Take care. Thank you for joining us on Business on the Vine. If you found value in today's conversation and would like additional support, go to supportfromjen.com. Remember, the best ideas are always discovered on the vine. So keep innovating, stay inspired, and continue to grow.